What if you woke up one day in a completely empty white room? No door, no window, no way out. Just you and hundreds of mysterious buttons covering every single wall. What would you do? Today, we're breaking down one of the most bizarre and mind-blowing Japanese films ever made. A movie that starts as a comedy and ends as something you will never forget. The movie is called Symbol. A Japanese man wakes up. He's in a perfectly white, completely empty room. No door, no window, no other person, just silence. As he looks around, he notices something strange on one of the walls. A small, unusual button. Curious, he reaches out and touches it, then presses it. Suddenly, hundreds of tiny cherub angels burst out from the walls and floor, laughing, dancing, floating around the room. And then, just as quickly as they appeared, they vanish back into the walls. But they leave something behind. Dozens of new buttons scattered across every surface of the room. This was the learning phase. The man sniffs the finger he used to press the button and immediately screams in horror. He calls out for help, but nobody answers. Nobody comes. So he does the only thing he can do. He starts pressing buttons one by one. Every button produces something different. One gives him a large vase, another a tiny toothbrush. Press the same button twice, you get the same thing again. After pressing enough buttons, he ends up with dozens of chopsticks, a small trolley that crashes into his feet, and one particularly unfortunate button, shaped like a baby's bottom, that releases gas directly into his face. Hours pass. The room fills with random objects. The man, exhausted and frustrated, throws a ball against the wall. It accidentally hits a button, and out drops a plate of sushi. Hungry, desperate, he's delighted, until he realizes there's no soy sauce. He presses the button again, and again, and again. Only sushi every single time, no sauce. Finally, starving, he gives up and eats the sushi without it. The moment he finishes the very last piece, he presses the button one more time. And this time, finally, a bottle of soy sauce drops out. In pure rage, he throws it across the room. Then, from one of the buttons, he finds an old-fashioned 3D glasses. The moment he puts them on, he sees something extraordinary. A tiny angel pointing directly at one specific button. He presses it. A countdown begins. He waits. And when it reaches 0, the baby bottom button releases gas in his face again. Hours later, he's read 5 volumes of a book series. Excited, he presses the button for volume 6. But instead of volume 6, volume 7 comes out. Then 8. Then 9. Still no volume 6. And then, accidentally, pressing yet another button, a hidden door swings open behind him. He screams with joy. But in his excitement, he completely forgets which button opened it. Every time he finds the right button, something goes wrong. A tribal warrior bursts out of one wall and disappears into another. Water pours on his head from another. And every time he gets close to the door, it swings shut right in front of him. Finally, he realizes he needs to hold the button down to keep the door open. But how? His hands can only do so much. He tries everything. Pressing it with his foot, tying a rope around it, placing a vase on top of it. Nothing works. The button always springs back up. So he fills the vase with sushi to make it heavier. But the vase is now too heavy to lift. So he uses chopsticks, pulling the sushi out one by one, lightens it just enough, and carries it to the button. But by the time he gets there, he's forgotten the button again. The tribal warrior bursts out, knocks the vase, and it shatters in two. The man loses his mind. But then, he spots something on the floor, a plunger, left behind from one of the earlier buttons. An idea forms. After many attempts, he swings on a rope, sticks the plunger to the wall, presses the right button, grabs the key that floats out, swings to the door, and makes it inside before it closes. But then, another obstacle. Above the second door, a 3-digit combination lock. He goes back into the room, thinking. And then, when the tribal warrior appears again, the man notices something he never saw before. 3 numbers, written on the warrior's forehead. He understands immediately. Those 3 numbers are the code. But the warrior only appears for a limited time. So, 3 times, he presses the button, enters 1 digit at a time before the warrior disappears. On the 3rd attempt, the lock opens. He steps through. But before he can celebrate, the first door closes behind him. He's trapped in the space between the 2 doors. No room to move, no way forward. He sits on the floor, defeated. And for the first time, he starts to remember. The strange buttons, the sushi, the angels, the warrior, the books. As strange as that room was, it had everything he needed. Food, entertainment, distraction, life. Then he feels something, a faint breeze coming from the wall in front of him. He touches it and realizes it's fake, a false wall. He breaks through and enters a long, mysterious hallway. It feels like it's floating in air, like he could run forever and never reach the end. But he keeps going, and when he finally emerges on the other side, he enters a new room. Dark, vast. The moment he steps in, his hair grows longer. His clothes fade. Something is changing. And then, not small cherubs this time, but hundreds of large angels fill the room. They hover, they swirl. They leave behind the same buttons, but bigger, more powerful. This was the practice phase. The man looks up and realizes this room has no ceiling. Above him, angels are flying freely. And for the first time, he doesn't press the buttons to get things. He uses them as steps to climb. And as he climbs higher, something extraordinary begins to happen on Earth. Flowers bloom, elephants die, storms form, children are born, a toaster turns on, a man lands on the moon. Every button he touches changes something in the world below. The higher he climbs, the bigger the effect. He's no longer just a man in a room. He's becoming something else. By the time he reaches the top, his hair and beard have grown enormously long. He doesn't need to touch the buttons anymore. He floats like the angels around him. He looks back at everything he went through, the confusion, the frustration, the small victories, and understands. He accepts his role. He is no longer choosing what falls out of a button. He is choosing the greatest moments of human history. As his work nears completion, the walls dissolve around him. A ring of wings forms. He passes through a glowing, mysterious portal and enters the final room. This room is the future. On one wall, a map of every continent on Earth. On the opposite wall, one single massive button. He walks toward it, slowly, with the certainty of someone who has waited an eternity for this moment. He reaches out his hand, and that is where the movie ends. Symbol is not just a movie about a man trapped in a room. It's a movie about the entire human experience: confusion, curiosity, frustration, persistence, and finally, transcendence. The man didn't escape the room, he outgrew it, and maybe that's exactly what we're all trying to do. Every frame has a secret.